part of that is my wife and I went out on faith and both quit our jobs. We got married, and so I needed that first job too. But it's just there's always an opportunity, and you're always learning something in every opportunity. So when something comes around or there is an opportunity, you're going to learn something from it. Like I learned so much about our theater department by going to auditions and practices. So it really does provide a lot of opportunity for you. And not everybody's going to say yes. A very few superintendents are going to go do the cha-cha slide with cheerleaders out on the...
Are you looking to buy or sell your home, but not quite sure if now is the right time? Well, contact Morgan & Co. and allow them to help you make that decision. Morgan & Co. is a leading, top producing company in Central Virginia. Contact Morgan & Co. today at 804-874-6806 or anytime, day or night, at www.morganandcorealty.com. Now back to the episode. Welcome to the Success Leaves Clues podcast, where I find regular people doing extraordinary and phenomenal things in corporate America and entrepreneurship. And of course, I'm your host, Dr. K. I have with me today Dr. Brian Nichols, the superintendent, the absolute best. But I'll allow you to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. So Brian Nichols, proud superintendent of Team New Kent County Public Schools, lifelong educator, and just inspired by you and jumped at the chance to get in an interview. So I know I learned in the process.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm hoping we can learn a lot from you too. Now you say lifelong educator. What does that mean?
Well, when I tell my story, I often say that I was saved by a teacher. So I'm a teacher because I was saved by a teacher. I'm a first-generation college graduate. Went on to get my master's, got my doctorate a couple of years ago in educational technology. None of that would have been possible without a teacher.
Okay.
So I don't come from a family of teachers. I don't come from a family of college graduates. But my path was changed because a teacher saw more than a kid who wore the same pair of pants every day and the kid who acted out. So from that moment, just kind of worked through that piece. I've been, this is year 24, 25. I know the hair throws you off. I don't look quite that old. But so I've been a teacher, been an assistant principal, I've been a principal, lots of different things, and now I get to be the superintendent, but it's all about trying to do what was done for me. So that's sort of the lifelong educator route.
Okay. Was it a particular teacher or multiple teachers that impacted?
Absolutely. I can tell you as clear as day, 5th grade, Miss Hoffman, she taught me English. Kid who grew up in rural Gloucester, Virginia. Okay. She was a former New York City, Washington, D.C. cop. So we came from very different backgrounds. We looked very different. And she taught me that you just invest and see past a behavior and know that there's something more there. And she'd keep me after school, and she'd make my mom come. And we just kind of worked through it. And she said, "You're too smart to be here in this class." Because when you act out, or back in the days when you acted out, you ended up in a class that wasn't as smart as other classes.
Yeah.
You got sort of tracked in this thing, and she really tested me and shifted me so that I had opportunities I wouldn't have had before, opportunities that my brothers didn't have, opportunities that my family didn't have. And it's just the coolest thing ever. She has no idea. She's since passed. But I tell her story every chance I get, because every interaction you have, and maybe somebody from this interview will pick up something that will, change is not this magical thing. It can be a moment. We remember moments, and she's my moment, and she's why I behave the way I do, why I act the way I do, why I try to, pour into people the way I do.
Yeah, and I notice you do care a lot, like you're saying, you got from the teacher and pouring into people. I see you doing more than I've ever seen in my life a superintendent do, being hands-on and reaching down. Can you tell me a little bit more about why that is?
Yeah, I think it's it's a gift and a curse. So I tell people all the time, you will not care more than me about our community, about our kids, and it's not just some community or some. It's like each and every single one. That's why I want to know you by name. That's why I want to know your family. But it makes it hard to sleep at night sometimes, because you wear a lot of that. And for me, it's important. to be seen in the community, because I think that's where the best work happens. Great work doesn't happen in my office. I mean, some work happens, but great work happens in conversations. And, I had launched when I first got here being new. I spent 23 years in Newport News public schools, and New Kent is very different from Newport News, but the one commonality that I went with is that it starts with community. I don't do this by myself. You don't do it by, we're together in this partnership. And so I launched an Excited to Be Invited tour. So if you invited me to something, you could be a parent, student, teacher, whatever, I'm coming. Doesn't matter if it's a bar mitzvah or I'm coming to your church service or you're doing this dance recital or you want to see me play. And, so I've been doing that. COVID did interrupt that, but it's about caring. It's about, I truly care about the success of our team. And I say team a lot, but that's like our staff. And that's our folks that serve meals, our folks that custodial drivers. It's everybody and every kid that walks through those doors. So that's the care piece. It'll be hard to outwork me. It'll be hard but you definitely won't outcare me. And that's not a traditional. Not that superintendents don't care, but I'm different, and I know that, and I make no apologies for that. And was very upfront in this whole interview process. Like, I'm going to run 24/7. I'm going to be out. So if you're looking for somebody that's going to be in policy and I'm not your guy. Yeah. I can do that, but that doesn't bring me joy. Doesn't bring me life. So
and doesn't bring other people joy either.
No, it doesn't. It does. I mean, it's a necessary part of the work we do. But my joy is when I'm at your ball game. My joy is when I got dragged onto the field with the cheerleaders last week with the cha-cha slide, which I have a lot of gifts. Dancing is not one, and I really wish it was, but I'll keep working on it. But it's just one of those things. It's about being where you are, because that's when I'm going to learn about you. So
you got a real cool about you. The kids always talk about you wear J's. That's non-traditional for faculty. And somebody in your position, they're usually a little snobby. So you're very approachable.
Yeah.
All full transparency, my daughter was one of your students,
yep.
And so she talked about how easy it was to come to you and approach you with things, and it's just amazing to see somebody in your position. Can you tell me what kind of like the job description is of a superintendent? Not the way you do it, but traditionally, what is a superintendent?
Yeah, you really oversee the daily operations of a school division. So New Kent has about 3,400 students. We have 4.5 schools because we're building the 5th school. We're about halfway through that process. And it's really about making sure that the curriculum is placed, the buses run smoothly, that you enact policy with the board, and there's a lot of technical aspects to it. Mm-hmm. And I can do the technical side of it. I think there's more, and I think that the day allows for more opportunity, to interact. You mentioned the Jordans, that goes back to growing up. Let me switch stories a little bit. But so I was a second grade teacher, taught at Marshall Elementary in Newport News. I had a life-size cutout of Michael Jordan in my classroom. It used to scare people when they would walk in because you weren't expecting this guy. But always a Jordan fan, so growing up in my house, like Jordans weren't attainable. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was always like that dream to be able to own a pair of Jordans. That was for me. It was like I made it. Yeah. I got a pair of J's. I could, So I always, when they're on my feet, I don't take for granted that this was a dream that I had at one point in time. So as hard as my days are, and as difficult as some of the decisions I make, there would be people that would kill to be in my position.
Oh, absolutely.
So the J's kind of remind me of where I came from, and that I'm living out dreams that nobody saw for me. So I know I went off topic on what a superintendent does, but
that's a good.
But yeah, so that's the basic part of superintendent is overseeing the daily operations of the school division and working to make sure that kids achieve and make sure that we have opportunities for kids.
Absolutely. You said it's not a goal that a lot of people saw you achieving. Is it a goal you saw yourself achieving?
Oh no, and I think that's something to think about is, we set goals, and I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be the first person in my family to graduate from college. That's a great goal. Yeah. And being a teacher is an amazing profession. Loved every second of it, and still have connected with kids that I taught a couple decades ago. But you got to be careful when you set that goal that, there could be more out there.
Right.
Like, nobody in my family ever talked about getting a doctorate. Like, that wasn't on anybody's radar.
Yeah.
But I always had somebody in my life. It's just the way it works. I became a teacher, and I had a principal, Alicia Spencer, who said, Brian, you have such a way with kids and people. You should think about being an administrator. Now, I want to teach. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
She had a bigger goal than I saw for myself. And I kind of went out on that faith and went to school and did that piece. And then the next door just kind of opened. People in your life that, have you ever thought about? So my mentor with being a superintendent, she said, Brian, one day you'll be a superintendent. I'm like, I don't know about that. The way you do this. No, you do it your own way, but don't doubt for a second you can do this.
Yeah.
So I try to bring that in. I call it our leadership tree. When you see more for people than they see for themselves, like, how do you build that bridge so that they, can kind of step out on faith a little bit. So got a lot of people on my team right now that didn't know they could do what they're doing right now. But you got to have somebody in your corner that believes in you and, kind of helps build that bridge so you can get there. So we do it with kids, with teachers, and, just trying to grow people, pay it forward.
You said when you were a little bit younger, you might have had some, normal kid trouble, right?
Sure.
So how did you get from having those kind of troubles to being in the element, being who you need to be?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot. So one of my beliefs is that, kids don't act out just to act out. Like, there's deeper there. So there were parts in my life that, there's some pretty serious stuff going on at home, and I couldn't let it out at home. So I'd go to school and I'd let it out. I'd be a clown. Or I wouldn't go to class, or I wouldn't do, I had to get that attention somewhere. And school is that safe place to do that. And I would push it just as far as I could so that they wouldn't call home, because that was a whole different thing. And every once in a while I would step over that line. But it took a lot of work and a lot of support along the way to try to, and I still work through it. I still work through childhood things and loss of family members and all of those different pieces. I try to be very transparent. So I talk very openly about losing my mom. I talk very openly about abuse in my childhood, because people see a suit or they see J's, or they're like, oh, this guy has it together.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I'm flawed. I got lots of flaws. And I just kind of share those openly, because I don't want you to think you have to be perfect either. Like, you're amazing the way you are. Just keep striving and keep working better. So I'd like to say from when Miss Hoffman intervened, I was like a perfect kid the rest of the way. You dig up the records, that wasn't true. Yeah. And it was just a constant thing of having mentors and having support and kind of working that route. Working with friends who had college ambitions, working with folks on the football team who wanted to do X, Y, Z. And they say you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. Well, I wasn't always surrounding myself with the best 5. So when you talk about your starting 5, you're going to take out onto the court. Like, you want somebody who can rebound, you want somebody who can do this, and so that sort of sticks with me is to have a strong starting 5 that I can rely on and be a support to as well. Like, I don't want to be the guy that's holding up the team. I want to be able to contribute too. So just working through those pieces.
You're always, of course, at the games, softball games, volleyball games. You said you got pulled out by the cheerleaders and stuff. Were you a student athlete, or?
A little bit. So the older I get, the better athlete I was, as the legend goes. I played football, played some basketball, lots of stuff recreational. Didn't quite have the grades at the time to play at the next level. And then family circumstances. My dad took ill, and I became sort of the head of the family for that period of time. So I stayed and commuted to Christopher Newport. But yeah, so sports is, I draw a lot of analogies on sports, and always a big sports fan, but I love the arts too. So my first year I acted in West Side Story because kids invited me. Yeah. And they said, we have a guest role. So would you be interested? And I have a habit, and I think it's a great habit, but it gets me in trouble, is I just start with yes. Like when you ask me something, I'm going to say yes. Oh. Okay. And then we'll work through it. We'll figure it out together. So, anywhere our kids are, I want to be there. Mm-hmm. So it's just important to know you have somebody in your corner. But athletics are a huge part of why kids come to school. Stay connected. Absolutely.
Saying yes a lot probably helps you also in your career. Like I would assume that, certain opportunities or positions that became available that a lot of people shy away from. But if you're willing to sometimes raise your hand, it just maybe put you in the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I said yes to the first position I was offered as a teacher. Part of that is my wife and I went out on faith and both quit our jobs. We got married, and so I needed that first job too. But it's just there's always an opportunity, and you're always learning something in every opportunity. So when something comes around or there is an opportunity, you're going to learn something from it. Like I learned so much about our theater department by going to auditions and practices. So it really does provide a lot of opportunity for you. And not everybody's going to say yes. Very few superintendents are going to go do the cha-cha slide with cheerleaders out on the, but when I walk through the hallways now, it's a different connection, with the team. So I showed up the next day because they had a cheerleading competition, and it's like, okay, you supported me and helped me through that. I'm coming to be the loudest cheerleader for you. Mm-hmm. And you just never know what moment's going to connect with a kid. And it starts by saying yes.
Yeah. What about your team? Tell me a little bit about your team and how that works.
So my team, I've been very fortunate. I came into a great team in New Kent, and I've been able to add to that with retirements and so forth. When I'm working on a team or get to put together a team, for me, it's kind of your mindset. Like it doesn't necessarily matter to me, do you have the expertise in that area? Because I think smart is something you become, right? You can learn, but I can't teach you necessarily how to start with yes. Or I can't teach you how to see that every data point we have can be improved. And we need to add additional opportunities for kids, no matter how successful we are right now, because there's some kid there that doesn't have what we need, what they need to be successful. So I've been incredibly lucky and fortunate and targeted to really put together a pretty special team. And I'm honored that when I call folks, they say yes. Just building strong relationships and just trying to assemble a team that's going to really do something incredible for the community. When I first started in New Kent, so superintendents by state law can only sign a 4-year contract. So you're not allowed to do more than 4 years at a single time. You can always extend that and go. And so the average tenure of a superintendent in Virginia right now is 2.5 years. So my first event that I had, I said, I want to be here through 2032. So 2032, why was that? Is that's the group of kindergartners that I started with. They'll cross the graduation stage in 2032. Like I'm not in this to be a billionaire. Nobody gets an education for that. But it was, can I make a dramatic difference in the place that I call home? And to me, you can't do that in 2.5 years. Right. You do that by starting with kindergartners and working them all the way through. You're going to make a difference for kids along the way, but how great would it be that the kids I started with are the kids that I potentially finish with on that graduation stage? So that's the goal and the dream and the ambition. A lot of that is out of my hands. But still, I mean, set a crazy, ambitious goal that nobody else is trying to do. See if you can make it happen.
Even if you fall a little short, right?
Even if I fall a little short, like we put it out there. And it's you never know what's going to resonate with people, but there is in the superintendency, there's this push to move school divisions and to go bigger, like bigger is better. I came from a school division over 30,000 kids, and I loved it. I still call that, the place I grew up. But here, I know you.
Yeah.
I knew a lot of people there too, because I've been there 23 years. But here versus 100,000 in Northern Virginia, I'm a people person. I want to know you. I want to know your family. I want to know what I want to know all that. And when you go to college, I want to go see you there too.
Yeah.
You can't do that in a large place. So to me, it's not about being the large superintendent or having a large team and all these layers to. Like, you can get to me any time of day. I'm very easy to get to. Yeah. And that's on purpose. And my team does ask me to kind of shift that a little bit. Don't be the first person running into a fire.
Yeah.
But, it's just who I am. So that's just how it works. And I promise to work through and try to be a little better at that. But at the end of the day, it's who I am.
Yeah. In the corporate or even public sector, right? Even if you're in the C-suite, you're probably only going to manage maybe 200-300 people. So, including the students, not only staff, but you've got well over 3,000 people. Yeah. How do you keep all that under wraps?
Well, some days not well. So I work through. I'm a big believer that your calendar tells your priorities. Mm-hmm. And you make time for what's important. And there's nothing more important than kids, community, and staff. So I make sure that my calendar represents that. So it's not a public thing, but every day I have to see kids and teachers in action. Mm-hmm. Like, there will not be a day, unless I'm completely out of town, which happens very rarely, that I'm not in a school, if not all of them. Okay. It's just important to me. So every morning, just about every morning, I start with an arrival. So you may see me at the car line, opening the car door, talking to somebody. Yeah. You'll see me at a dismissal. You may see me on a bus. But it's targeted. Like, I'm very efficient with my time to make sure that I can be as many places as possible. So before I came here, I was at middle school football. Yeah. And I knew I couldn't be there for the whole game, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But I got to see a half. I got to talk to some kids. I talked to the coaches. And then I'm able to do this too. Mm-hmm. So it really comes back to I have a lot of Google Sheets, Excel spreadsheets, so I can remember where I've been. And, October for me is focused on New Teacher Month. So I have a different focus for our staff. So I'm intentional with who I see. So one of the best ways to build a school division is through fantastic teachers. Yeah. And you've got to support them. And back to, you can't out-care me. Very few superintendents are going to spend a month going to see every new teacher a couple times and checking in on them, seeing what they need. Okay. But that's what my month is. Okay. So every month has a specific focus to it. Mm-hmm. Next month is going to be about our teacher leaders and making sure that I'm going to see them versus just walking through and saying hello, and it's just not significant. So how can you put as many significant interactions or moments into a day to make it meaningful? Yeah. So it's a work in progress.
So what about a new teacher who maybe has ambitions of one day being in faculty, or administration is the proper term, or a superintendent one day? Do you have some type of mentorship or career track?
We're building. So that is something, I wouldn't be in this seat unless somebody did that for me. Mm-hmm. So last year we started an administrative intern project. Okay. So every school has administrative interns. They're teachers. But they're teachers who may want to think about going into administration, and it gets duties and roles and assignments, and it's a resume builder for them, but it's also a competence builder. And we've already parlayed that into a couple of new assistant principals came from that opportunity. Okay. We're getting into the arena of growing leaders, including coursework, including supporting on tuition. We have a cool new initiative that we just launched, and I did it specifically for our staff, but then I expanded it to, I didn't do anything, let me not say that. My team expanded it to residents of New Kent County. So if you have a bachelor's degree in New Kent County, or you work for us as a teacher assistant or a bus driver, what have you, we will work with you to transition that into a career switcher teaching position, and we'll pay the bill. So often folks get degrees and then they decide to do different things and they don't know how to transition into teaching. It's unfortunately very complicated. We build a roadmap with you. We pay for it, including testing, and then you provide 3 years of teaching with us. So it's a win-win, but we're looking to do that with leadership as well.
What's the time frame for that bridge program?
Depends on your degree and what you're trying to teach. So we'll often show you the most efficient route. And then if you want to go in a different field, let's say you want to do something specific in business, it may take a couple additional courses. So it really just depends. A lot of times it can be done in 2 semesters. And speaking of just starting with Yes, we reached out to Old Dominion University, and they have a program, but you have to come on campus. So nobody wants to go through that tunnel, especially from New Kent. So we said, would you be willing to do a virtual program for us? And they said yes. So now our people don't even have to leave their house or our schools. We'll pay the bill, and then you provide the services. We all win in it, and the community gets stronger.
Yes.
So we're always looking for those intersections that build our community, support our schools, and we get better together.
A phenomenal program. I've never heard. The closest thing, I was in the Army. Okay. So we had troops to teachers.
Similar. Yeah.
So that was one program, and I'm not going to tell you why I'm not suited to be a teacher, but I'm a little strict. And,
that's okay. That's okay.
So, yeah,
that's okay.
I love kids and I love people, but may not be.
But
they can try you sometimes.
So we just dream and we talk to people, and then we come up with these ideas, and then you work with a team that just makes it so much better.
Yeah.
So I got stuck in the traditional that we'll have to go to a university, and my folks said, okay, let's see what we can do. But just you're looking for those pieces. We're working on a program. There's a national teacher shortage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. But the pipeline's not getting bigger, so we've got to figure out a way to make our own pipeline. So we're going to be launching in the next year or so. I'm a kid whose life is fundamentally different because of education. So we also I have almost 1,100 high school kids. Have any of them considered going into that field? What if there was a scholarship associated with it that helped them pay for school, and then they came back home and did a couple years in return? They have some national teacher programs that kind of do that in place, which we would just do a local version. So we're working through ideas like that with the kids.
That's a great idea. I know a lot of students that even my daughter's talked about being an educator.
Hired.
So. Yeah, so that's another good one. What do you feel parents can do to support the school system and teachers better?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think just to be involved with your child, be involved with your school. That means a lot of different things. So I have a senior at the high school. So I tell families all the time, I'm not just a superintendent, I'm a parent. Like, I live this. And when you say involved, like, I can't always be at his stuff because I'm doing our school stuff. But he will tell you I'm a very involved parent. And his teachers will say that, I'm a very involved parent. But it doesn't mean I have to be there all the time. So the open dialogue with your kids, talking to your kids about career opportunities, and just kind of staying connected to the school. I mean, there's no real magic formula other than, I think for me it's that we're in partnership together. Like, I'm not against you, you're not against me. There could be times that we don't agree on certain things, but like, we're in this together. So just to see that the two, kind of work in unison for a common goal. Like, I want your daughter and your son to be the most successful people they can be. My goal is to open as many doors as possible. Because I don't know what they're going to want to walk into. I just want to expose them to so many things that,
something catches.
And so just to be in partnership with you to make sure that, that we're kind of working through the same pace. We're in an interesting transition, a swing of sorts. It was every kid needs to go to college. That's kind of where I grew up. I don't know that every kid needs to go to college. I think every kid needs to be in a career that kind of gets them excited. Like, I love coming to work every day. I'm fired up to do it. And my oldest son is going into aviation maintenance. He didn't need to go to a 4-year school, but that's what gets him excited. So how do we open up that pathway, to be employed or enrolled, or call them 3s, employed, enrolled, or enlist? Just for you to be into something meaningful. I don't want you to walk across the graduation stage with your diploma only. I want you to walk across the graduation stage with a diploma plus something.
Yeah.
Career certificate. We have kids walking with associates, college grad, just something. Because I don't want you to walk in and just celebrate with your family and then you're done. That's a moment, celebrate it, but it's leading to the next moment. So for me, it's to build that bridge to something more.
I like trades. New Kent has a lot of trade programs, but other school districts don't. And I feel that trades are really important in school. My son actually did welding.
Okay.
He wanted to be a welder rather than go the college route. And I was fully supportive in him doing that because there's always opportunities with that. And even if he does later decide, okay, I'm going to go to college, then you've got this trade that carries with you for the rest of your life.
So my youngest is a senior at the high school. We opened up a new program called Pharmacy Tech because it's a huge career field. They have a need for kids. You can walk out of high school right into Pharmacy Tech, or you can go on and get additional certifications. So he's a senior, new program. I said, let's just try it, because if you want to go to college, you can still go be a pharmacy technician on the side and make pretty good money versus another job that you could have. And he's fallen in love with it. Like, he likes it. So you just never know what door you open and what's possible for a kid. He had no idea he'd be interested in medicine and all those different things, and I had no idea either. I just wanted him to do something meaningful. And he is, and he loves it, and we'll see what he does with it. But so really just not putting a kid or an adult because in a certain lane, but just giving them access to the whole freeway. Getting out of the way, right?
Say that again. So not giving them just the lane.
Yeah, give them the whole freeway.
Give them the whole freeway.
Give them all the exits. Give them, and just give them the keys.
Let their imagination run wild.
Equip them with everything they need to be successful. And then, because just like me, I mean, I never had dreams of being a superintendent, but people equip me with the things to get to this point.
Yeah.
So, you just never know. You don't want to pigeonhole a kid or an adult or anything. Like, we all are capable of doing great things. We just need some support. We need people to push us. We need people to pick us up when we're down. And you just never know what's possible.
So I got one more thing that's been interesting to me about you, and that's the Tough Mudder. So you got to tell me about it.
Oh, man. So I've been doing it for a decade now, over a decade. And it started back to start with yes. I was not in incredible shape, and right now I'm not in incredible shape either, but there was a time I was. And I had a buddy who said, hey, here's this crazy race. Yeah. It's 10 miles, 25 obstacles. They'll shock you. You're going to jump off high stuff. It's every fear you have rolled into a race. Do you want to do it? Yes. I didn't train at all. I just showed up, and it was awful. I mean, it was terrible. But I have something in me that won't let me quit or be defeated. I may be down for a while, but I will get back up. And it was like, okay, can you train and be able to feel good at the end of one of those races? That was the goal. Mm-hmm. So trained, showed up for another one, felt good at the end. Then it became, can you do one on Saturday and then show up on Sunday and do it again? So then did that, went down to Miami and did that. And then it was, can you do two in one day? So did that. And then it was, can you do two in one day and then show up on Sunday and do another? So I buy a season's pass, like I'm going to Busch Gardens.
Okay.
And I can go anywhere in North America and run these races. So it became this thing, and then they have a 24-hour race. And it's, can you stay on a course for 24 hours and push yourself beyond any distance you thought you could do. When you think you're done, you're like 40% done. And these races teach you, it's like life. Like there are going to be obstacles and challenges. Can you overcome it? Can you get through it? Can you find a way? Can you, you may need somebody to lift you over the wall. You may need to lift somebody over the wall. You may be able to get over it by yourself, but you still have to lift it. It's like a life, symbolic for life. So now I just finished my 60th Tough Mudder.
60.
And I have a couple more. This weekend I'll be in D.C. Soon. And then I have one more to finish my season in Florida. So, and I've already got my pass for next year.
Yeah.
And it just kind of it gives me a stress reliever, but more importantly, it just gives me, something symbolic. Like it's something to overcome. And as I get older, it gets harder, and that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to defeat me. It took me almost a decade to get my doctorate. Mm-hmm. Life happened.
Yeah.
Lots of life happened in that. And I was down quite a few times. I walked away a few times. But it's just like the race. Like you got to get to the finish line. Mm-hmm. If you want it bad enough, you'll get there. And you just line up and keep one foot in front of the other. 60 races, I promise you, I've wanted to quit in every one of them.
60 times.
60 times. So that, to me, if you don't want to quit at some point in it, it's not challenging enough. You got to have a little bit of that grit. Like this is tough, and kind of keep going with it. Being a superintendent is not easy. Being a superintendent right now, it's definitely not easy. Everything you do is under a microscope, and somebody has an issue. It's just so polarized and political right now. But I'm gonna get back up. I'm gonna try it again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get back up, and I'm gonna try again. And as long as I have breath in my body, I'm gonna keep rolling this. I'm officially older than my dad was when he passed, and it's every day is a gift for me. And I don't mean that as a cliche, but I'm already doing more, and every opportunity I have to line up, I'm gonna give it all I have. So,
I love your philosophy. I love your outlook on life. I love what you do for the community and everyone that you touch. So I thank you for being here.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it.
I do want to go over some of the clues that I picked out of our conversation just for the audience.
Oh boy, okay,
So,
I'm ready.
So clues for success. I probably didn't catch all of them, but something that caring is a big one for you.
Yep.
What you've learned from sports and Tough Mudder, things that nature, just never giving up, just having that grit. Imagination, just allowing opportunities not only for yourself but for your family and everybody that works under your leadership is a big clue for success. And I just hope that everybody from the audience can take those away and also maybe find some things that I didn't point out. But you are truly a phenomenal person, and I thank you for all that you do. You are inspiring. Every time I see you, this is honest to God, right? Every time I see you, I'm just like, man, I feel like I got to step my game up. I'm like, man.
I feel the same way when I see you. Like you're doing all these different things. Like, man, I'm just superintendenting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean that's kind of been the beauty of this, man. Is I'm inspired by you. I'm definitely inspired by the family. Your daughter starting a business like that inspires me to go. Okay, she can start a business. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like and then for you guys to be supported. I mean, it's right back at you, and it inspires me to do more and be more.
Well, thank you again. And I just want to remind everybody that nothing is impossible. If you can dream it, you can achieve it. See you next time. Success Leaves Clues Podcast.